Let's get right into it. Number 7. Tetrachromacy. Imagine walking through a garden and seeing a rainbow in every flower. That's how tetrachromats see the world. They basically see colors on steroids. Most of us have 3 types of cone cells in our eyes, letting us see about 1,000,000 colors. But tetrachromats have 4 cones. This extra cone allows them to pick up on color differences that are invisible to the rest of us. They see a mind-blowing 100 million colors. They're not just seeing red, they're seeing crimson, scarlet, ruby, and probably 50 other shades we don't even have names for. This superpower is almost exclusively found in women. This is because the gene for this extra cone is on the X chromosome. Since women have 2 X chromosomes, they have a higher chance of getting this superpower. Most tetrachromats don't even know they're special. They'll be out shopping, pointing at 2 identical shirts saying, "Can't you see the difference?" Meanwhile, everyone else is squinting like they're trying to spot a needle in a haystack. Some tetrachromats end up in jobs where their powers shine. They become color experts in fashion or paint companies. Imagine being so good at colors that you get paid to stare at slightly different shades of beige all day. Number 8. Hyperthymesia. Hyperthymesia gives people an incredible memory. These people can remember almost every day of their lives in extreme detail. Only about 60 people in the world have this superpower. That's fewer than the number of people who've been to space. People with hyperthymesia can recall tiny details from years ago. They might remember what they had for lunch on a random Tuesday 5 years back, or the exact words of a conversation from their childhood. But it's not just about remembering facts. People with hyperthymesia relive their memories with intense emotions. It's like time traveling in their minds. They can feel the joy of their 10th birthday party or the anxiety from their first day of school, even decades later. Scientists have found that the brains of people with hyperthymesia are different. Parts of their brain that are involved in memory are larger than average. It's like their brains have a supercharged hard drive. While it might sound amazing, hyperthymesia can be tough. Imagine never being able to forget a sad or embarrassing moment. Every argument, every mistake, every heartbreak stays fresh forever. Number 6. Williams syndrome. Williams syndrome is a genetic disorder that affects about 1 in 10,000 people. It's caused by missing genes on chromosome 7. People with Williams syndrome have some pretty cool abilities that makes them stand out. First off, they have an amazing ear for sounds, and can often play instruments by ear. Some of them have perfect pitch, which means they can identify or sing any musical note without help. It's like they have a built-in music studio in their brains. But that's not all. People with Williams syndrome are super friendly. They love talking to others and making new friends. It's like they never met a stranger. This friendliness comes from their brains being wired differently. The part of their brain that processes fear is smaller, so they're less afraid of new people. Here's where it gets really interesting. Even though they're great with people, they struggle with numbers and spatial skills. They might have trouble doing math or figuring out how to put together a puzzle. It's like their brains traded math skills for people skills. Another cool thing about Williams syndrome is that these people often have very expressive faces. They're great at showing emotions, which makes them natural performers. Many excel in drama and public speaking. Lastly, people with Williams syndrome have a unique way of speaking. They often use complex words and phrases that you wouldn't expect. It's like they swallowed a dictionary. This advanced language skill, combined with their friendliness, makes them great storytellers. Number 4. Congenital insensitivity to pain. Congenital insensitivity to pain is a rare condition where people can't feel physical pain. It's so uncommon that only about 20 people in the US have it. These individuals can do things that would make most of us scream, like dipping their hands in boiling water or walking on hot coals without feeling a thing. But this superpower comes with a big problem. People with this condition often hurt themselves without knowing it. They might break a bone or get a serious cut and not even notice. This leads to a lot of injuries and infections that could have been avoided if they felt pain like everyone else. Even though they can't feel pain, they can still feel pressure and temperature, so they know when they're touching something, but their body doesn't send out the ouch signal. It's like their internal alarm system is broken. Because of this, people with congenital insensitivity to pain have to be really careful. They need to check their bodies every day for injuries they might have missed. They also have to learn to be careful in ways most of us don't think about, like being gentle when they close doors or pick up objects. Doctors get really excited when they find someone with this condition because it's so rare. Studying these cases helps scientists understand more about how pain works in our bodies. This research could lead to better ways to treat pain for everyone. Number 5. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or EDS. EDS is a condition that makes people's bodies super flexible. It's like their joints are made of rubber bands instead of normal connectors. People with EDS can do some pretty wild stuff. Some can bend their thumbs all the way back to touch their forearms. Others can twist their legs into pretzel shapes that would make a yoga instructor jealous. But it's not just about being bendy. EDS affects the skin, too. These folks have skin that's stretchier than normal. Their skin can stretch up to 1.5 times its usual length. That's like being able to pull your cheek out like it's made of silly putty. Here's something really cool. Some people with EDS heal super fast. Cuts and bruises that might take weeks to heal for most of us can vanish in just a few days for them. It's like they've got some kind of secret healing power. But EDS isn't all fun and games. It can come with some tough challenges too. People with EDS often deal with joint pain and can get injured more easily because their joints are so loose. They might need to be extra careful to avoid dislocations. Despite these challenges, many people with EDS find ways to use their flexibility as a superpower. Many of them become dancers and acrobats. Number 6. Myostatin-related muscle hypertrophy. This is a rare condition that turns people into real-life superheroes. It's caused by a genetic mutation that stops the body from making myostatin, a protein that normally puts the brakes on muscle growth. People with this condition are born with muscles that just keep growing. As babies, they look like tiny bodybuilders. By the time they're adults, they're incredibly strong without ever needing to lift weights. These super strong folks can lift about 30% more weight than the average person. That's like being able to pick up a refrigerator instead of just a couch. People with this condition also have super fast metabolisms. They burn calories like a furnace, staying lean even when they eat a lot. The coolest part? This condition doesn't seem to cause any major health problems. Scientists are really excited about studying this condition. They think it could help us find new ways to treat muscle-wasting diseases, or even help astronauts keep their muscles strong in space. Number 2. Foreign accent syndrome. This is a brain disorder that changes how a person speaks. It's so uncommon that only about 100 cases have been reported worldwide. People with this condition suddenly start talking with what sounds like a foreign accent, even though they've never lived in that country. This strange change usually happens after a brain injury or stroke. The brain areas that control speech get mixed up, causing changes in how words are pronounced. For example, someone from New York might wake up sounding British, or a person from Japan could start speaking with what others hear as a Russian accent. Doctors have found that foreign accent syndrome can affect more than just speech. Some patients also experience changes in the way they write or type. Their writing style might suddenly include phrases or spellings typical of the country their new accent is from. Despite how strange it sounds, this condition isn't harmful to a person's health. Some people recover their original accent over time, while others might keep their new way of speaking for years. Either way, it certainly makes for some interesting conversations. Number 1. Orbach disease. This is a rare disease that messes with the body in some wild ways. First off, it turns off the fear switch in your brain. People with this disease can't feel scared. Their brains just don't process fear like normal. This might sound awesome, but it's actually pretty dangerous. Imagine crossing a busy street without any fear of cars. Not good. But that's not all. This disease also makes your voice super raspy. This is because the disease causes stuff to build up in the throat, making you sound like you're losing your voice. Orbach makes your skin really thick and tough. This might sound cool, but it can cause problems. The thick skin can be painful and make it hard to move normally. People who have Orbach are born with it, but the symptoms don't usually show up until they're kids or teenagers. Doctors can test for this disease before a baby is born, but because it's so rare, they usually only do this if there's a family history of it. Only about 400 people in the whole world have this disease. That's fewer people than in most high schools. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.